Welcome to the Read the Room podcast. I'm Chandler.
And I'm Alyssa. And we're the podcast about books, relationships, and the relationships in books.
I feel like we finally got that one down.
Yeah, that one sounded better than usual. We found our zone.
We did. Now I can just take that audio clip and put it at the front of every single other one.
Yeah.
And there we go.
That's smart. Today we're talking about Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. But before we hop into that, do you want to talk about what you're actually reading right now in your personal life?
What I am actually reading right now is called Crow Winter, a novel by Karen McBride. It has got that, indigenous mysticism that a lot of people know from Eden Robinson, especially around here, because Eden Robinson is like a Vancouver area based writer. Karen McBride, well, this story at least takes place more in Ontario. I'm only, the land so-called Ontario. But yeah, I'm only, 30, 40 pages in, but I'm very much enjoying it. And I'll keep you updated on how things go from here.
You go.
Yeah, what are you reading, Alyssa?
I've been reading a lot lately, so I have a few books that I could talk about, but I wanted to talk about The Fourth Wing. I feel like, did I talk about it already?
I don't think so. I know that we have talked about it.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember if we've talked about it or we've talked about it on the podcast.
Well,
but I'm going to
just
talk
go
about
for
it again
because if it's that good, then
and
it deserves to be talked about.
I want Chandler to read it because he borrowed it last time he was over. I want him to read it because I want to do an episode on it. It's just that good. But essentially, Fourth Wing is about a school for dragon riding. That wasn't my best way of saying that.
Yeah, I don't think that you've talked about this book before, because I would have been like, oh, whoa, dragon riding.
So it's kind of like a mix of like the Hunger Games and Divergent, but with like Game of Thrones dragons. It's like this girl, she is supposed to be, I can't remember what her original job was supposed to be. Sorry, I've read like 15 books since this, but
so you read it like 2 weeks ago then?
Literally. But she is supposed to be, I want to say this isn't going to be very good for you to use.
I'll just cut all of it. I'll just voice over. Alyssa actually didn't read any book this week.
I did. My brain's just not working today. Anyways, she was supposed to have this other job in her world, and she ends up becoming a dragon rider or going into the academy called the Fourth Wing. But you have to actually get through and survive the Fourth Wing to be a dragon rider. And there's so many parts of it. Like a dragon actually has to choose you, and then they all have like their own society of dragons as well. So there's like a double political stand, story there.
Hold up though. So like you have to survive getting through the Fourth Wing, and part of it is you have to get chosen by it. What if no dragon chooses
then you aren't in the Fourth Wing.
But do you die?
I don't think you die. You just can't do that. I don't know what you would do. It would almost
loser,
be like
no dragon
Divergent
wants you.
when they like are this is how I read it. I don't know if this is fact, but I assume they become factionless. But like that version of like the Fourth Wing.
Dragonless.
I hope that nobody who's like a huge fan hears this because I'm butchering this so badly. But no, it's so good. The main character's name is Violet, or Violence, as some people may call her. But it's good. It's steamy. It's well written. It's honestly, I was addicted from the very first page. I was in it. It was one of those. I had it recommended by my neighbor and friend Carly, and I definitely recommend that you also read it. The next book, Iron Flame, is coming out in less than a month.
Oh yes, I remember these books, and it is a gorgeous book too.
It's so pretty. I honestly think I'm gonna reread it at the end of this month just to prepare for the next book coming out, because clearly I'm having trouble remembering it. So, but all I can tell you guys is it's worth it. It's worth your time. It's worth the chonker of the book it is.
And there's another one coming out soon. Mm-hmm. So now, I mean, we're saying now, but this episode will probably go out
oh yeah, this episode will come out closer to when the release of that book probably comes out.
I don't know.
It comes out November 7th or November 4th, I think.
Scheduling.
Do you want to do a quick synopsis, or do you want me to?
Right.
Okay.
Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Riva. Famous Rivas, plural. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel. Brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. Riva?
Riva.
Riva.
Mm-hmm.
Mick Riva. I never listened to audiobooks, so I never know the pronunciation of anything.
Aw.
The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro tennis playing husband. Professional tennis playing husband, not a husband that's just like really pro tennis. Oh, and maybe HUD, because it's long past time for him to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall when the girl he can't stop thinking about promise she'll be there. And Kit has a couple of secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before that first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come rising to the surface. That is from Penguin Random House.
Word.
The review or just the synopsis?
Yeah.
Thank you to Penguin Random House for sponsoring this.
Stop. Oh my god. This is like the first book that it doesn't have like a character's name.
Of the core four?
Yeah, like a full name, like Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones, and Carrie Soto.
Yeah,
This one's just Malibu Rising.
Is Carrie Soto is back, or it's just Carrie Soto?
Carrie Soto is back,
okay.
yeah. But before, anyways, what did you actually think of Malibu Rising? I can't talk.
I think it was I think it says something that it was my least favorite, and I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think that I had a hard time empathizing with the main four characters in some ways, especially because like when they're first presented, it's like, hey, look at these like hot young surfer family people who are like rich, and like their big issue is they're throwing a party and they, there's a lot of stuff going on. But then when it gets into the backstory of how they got there and like, coming from more humble beginnings, I'm actually one of four siblings myself. There's three boys and a girl, so not quite lining up there, but I definitely understand the those little family dynamics. And God, I could only imagine how, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but just how wild it would have been if when my older brother was like 17, if we just like didn't have parents and just had to make things work.
You weren't the oldest though.
No.
Yeah.
Older brother, me, younger sister, younger brother.
Gotcha. Okay.
All within a few years though, so, pretty close to the spread.
What did you rate the book?
What did I rate the book?
Yeah.
I would assume 4 stars.
Yeah, that's a regular person's 5 star.
What did you rate the book?
I've rated all of Taylor Jenkins' books 5 stars.
Okay, but which one of them is your favorite?
Well, let's wait until we do Carrie Soto, and then we can go through and we could
Okay, but like every time we keep talking about our star.
We already know what our favorites are, and
but it's like I like giving that space because it's like there is going to be one of these 4 that I like more than the others, and I want to be able to express that in my ratings.
Fair, but they all deserve 5 stars. They're all amazing. There's just some that are more. They can't all just be equally awesome and all my favorite. It doesn't work that way. So, but the writing is all 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The books are 5 stars, but I have a favorite. But we'll get into that.
Okay.
Okay, wait.
How'd you like it?
I gave it 5 stars. I'm the same as you. Malibu Rising isn't my favorite of the core 4. It's the one book, because I reread them all before we filmed these podcasts. And just like the first time I read Malibu Rising, it took me a hot minute to get into this one again. For some reason, I don't get sucked into the story as quickly for Malibu Rising as the other 3. But at the same time, when I do get sucked in, I'm absolutely, completely obsessed. I absolutely love the Rivas. I mean, all of them except for Mick. And I love the aesthetic of Malibu Rising over the other books' aesthetics. Like, I love the surfing and the Hollywood vibes, like the Hollywood Hills, I don't know. I just love the vibe of Malibu Rising.
You know what? I feel like the reason why neither of us got into Malibu Rising as quickly as these other ones is kind of, you hit the nail on the head by saying like, oh my God, this is the only book that doesn't have a titular character, right? It's all 4 of them, but then like you also bring the parents in and their story and everything, and like their parents with the restaurant.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to have like the full picture of this family and their situations and how they interweave with one another to be like, oh shit, like this is what's happening.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna go down. I'm excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of character building as opposed to the other ones. You didn't have to do it as like spread out.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the other ones, it's like, here's Evelyn Hugo, here's the situation.
Yeah.
Sure, we're going to get to the 7 husbands, but, like, who cares about the 7 husbands anyway?
Literally.
But, like, you're introduced to Evelyn Hugo, and you're like, all right, this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So... But
with this, you have to learn Nina, Jay, Hud, Kit, June, Mick. Like, they all have their own story, and you sort of have to wait and be patient. But yeah, it takes me a hot minute to get into this one, but genuinely I do really, really love it. And I think there's a lot to discuss, especially with this book and relationships. I think that's really interesting. I was just curious, like, what did you think of the Rivas? Who were your favorites of them?
Oh, I definitely love Judd.
Hud.
Yeah. I was like, Judd, Jay. Wait, what's the brother's name? Is Jay? Jay
is the brother. Hud is the one that's adopted.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, very much loved Hud.
The quiet photographer.
Well, yeah, come on.
He's so sweet.
He's just out there. He's fine with being behind the camera, not in front. And like, you know, I'm sure he's like, I think it said that he is like a great surfer unto himself, but he's never like, okay, put me in front of the camera.
Yeah,
he's just doing. Actually, you know what, I also really love Kit.
Kit is the best. I love Kit. She's a little badass.
Yeah, and then Jay is just like
I like Jay too.
Too much.
I don't know, Jay's going through a lot. Jay just finds out that he has a heart condition and can't surf anymore. He's having an identity crisis throughout this book.
That is very true. He is going through quite a bit.
But you're right. He's not as adorable and lovable as the other ones. I get you.
Just a dude.
But he's still like, the thing is Jay, he might be like the least lovable, that's awful to say, out of the 4, but at the same time he's also incredibly kind to Nina and like was always stepped up to support her because she was like, spoiler, but after June passes and Mick's no longer in the picture, Nina has to take over and take care of the 4 of them, drops out of school and everything at 17, and Jay he really does try to help. And when he makes mistakes, like when he crashes the car, you can tell like he feels so bad, whereas if it was parents and like Mick, a rock star, if it had been that dynamic of him, the parents, I doubt Jay would have cared as much. Like, it wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have had as much empathy.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm assuming, but that's sort of how it feels to me.
Yeah, it just, again, it goes back to the whole, man, these kids, like, because a kid's gonna crash a car.
Totally.
Right? And yeah, he's just in a place where that hits so much harder. Because, like, now you know that your, like, teenage sister is going to have to deal with that, too.
Yeah.
Because you don't really feel that much, empathy, I guess. We're really throwing that word around here. To your parents when...
Especially when your dad's a freaking rock star.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, if things were very different and that's who he was, like, coming home to tell he crashed the car, it would just be very different dynamic, I think. But, yeah, before we get too into the like, children, because I feel like we want to talk a lot about those 4, we should talk about June and Mick and, like, the start of this and why the 4 kids are on their own. What did you think of Mick and June's love story?
Oh, man, the one thing that really stuck with me was the whole getting a bathroom with 2 sinks thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, how she just wanted that so badly.
I don't think I've ever lived in a house with a bathroom with 2 sinks. I've seen them. They exist.
I've definitely lived in them. I'm sorry.
Wow, I can't believe
it's
you grew up so rich. It's a pretty common thing.
I didn't at all. I think I lived with them on my own.
Oh, whoa.
Like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anyways, it just happens sometimes when you get the ensuite that has a bathroom attached. Usually it's like a double sink.
And I'm sure in the, what would it have been, like the 60s?
Yeah.
When that part of the story was happening, and he was like, I'm gonna get you that second fucking sink, girl.
And he did.
Yeah, and then, they were together before he, like, became famous.
Yeah, that's right.
So, unfortunately, it's that classic story, and we touched on it in Daisy Jones, where you start a relationship well, someone is pursuing something that could potentially make them famous. I feel like there's always issues in relationships when someone finds fame, finds fortune,
Yeah.
and they're with someone that they were with before that, and that would be great if that relationship continues to work and they can kind of be like your grounding force and they can be there with you and you can trust that they're not just with you for your money, your fame.
Yeah, like when in Daisy Jones, how Camilla was there for Billy. Billy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounded wrong. So many names.
Good old Billiam.
Anyways, how she stayed with him through all of it and through his life changing and their life changing. And she was like the grounding force for him. But then you see for Evelyn Hugo, that wasn't the case with like Dawn Adler, who was threatened by the changes in her success and became abusive. Like I think she touches on like how people can handle the fame as the like partner. And this is one of the examples where June had the potential to stay and be a Camilla, but Mick was no Billy. Mick
Well, I mean,
yeah,
true, but like Mick and Billy were both kind of doing the same things at one point.
But Camilla was able to pull Billy back down to earth and keep him grounded, whereas Mick was just off the reins.
Yeah, he could not be
Off the reins, is that the saying?
off the rails.
Off the rails, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me on Mick and June, I loved their love story at the beginning, like when they were young and he was pursuing her and she wanted to get out of having the family restaurant, and that was like her dream, and he was like, they were getting it together, they were figuring it out. But in my opinion, by the end of it, it's no longer a romance, it's a tragedy. It ends in her death because she's so devastated.
Oh God, yeah. If you look at it that way,
It wasn't
where
actually a romance.
You just look
No.
at their like courtship, their relationship, their marriage.
Mhm.
It is absolutely a tragedy because
Isn't that
that's
sad?
where her story ends, right? So.
Yeah. Did you think June was naive or stupid?
Oh no, I don't think she was stupid at all. Like, especially when you think back to when they would have started dating, you know, the 50s, 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It is like that's you get into those relationships, and when you start like dating steady, you're thinking like, am I going to marry this person in the next like year?
Yeah.
Because it's just that quick. And oh yeah, like he wants to be a musician, and like that's so fun, and he's probably like a bit more romantic than most other guys
Yeah.
around for her to choose in like the early 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're. Yeah. I think she was just very young, like
Well-
when this all happened. I think that's the thing, is she's just naive and like young. I don't think I think like obviously there was the parts where she turned to alcoholism, which was hard to read. And you just want June to pull it together for the kids, and she just couldn't quite do it, which was really heartbreaking. And that's why I essentially called it a tragedy. But yeah, I felt for June. I had a lot of empathy for her, whereas Mick just like, he just got worse and worse as the book went on, and I just despised him.
Well, as much credit as we need to give Nina for carrying the family through after her mother passed.
She started carrying it before her mother passed.
That's
too.
true, too,
Like, I
yeah.
think she was carrying quite a bit.
But I feel like June at least like set them up pretty well to like be the kind of people who could do that, who
Yeah.
could get by, and like not reach out to Mick to like take his money. I remember reading that where June was like, I don't want to like you know, go after Mick for child support or alimony.
Yeah.
When it's like, he's a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
Go
He's so
get
rich.
that bag.
It's so frustrating. And then
But I
they're
get it.
struggling. Yeah, it really touched me, that one part when June, when they tried surfing, remember, for the first time, and all 4 kids were obsessed with surfing, and they asked for surfboards for Christmas because they all shared one that was like abandoned on the beach
Yeah.
for a long time. And then she somehow, and the kids never knew how she found a way to buy each of them a new surfboard, and they all like had a different color, I think is what it was.
I don't remember how she found a way.
They never tell you.
Oh.
That's the thing, is they don't tell you.
Okay.
So that's the thing, is June would do anything for her kids. Who knows if it was like, you know, sell something at the restaurant, or like work extra shifts. Who knows what she did, but she found a way to get them more surfboard.
She stole those surfboards.
I doubt she stole them.
I
No,
know,
because
she
June was
didn't.
like, she reminded me of like a less strong Nina, in a way. Like Nina became a stronger version of her mother, and then had further growth at the end of the book. But
And I wonder if that had to happen in the absence of her mother, right?
Totally. But I think that, like, also the mom buying them the surfboards as the Christmas gift also led into another relationship I sort of want to talk, or led into another relationship I want to talk about, which is each of the siblings relationship with surfing, because that's like a huge theme in the book is surfing, and each one had a different sort of relationship with surfing. Whereas Nina, she didn't want to do it professionally, but it did lead to her modeling career because she was so stunning, but she loved surfing to get away from everyone, to get out on the water and to calm herself down and the stresses of every day. Whereas Jay became a professional surfer. He was incredible. Hud was an awesome surfer, but he ended up liking taking photos of his siblings surfing. Like, he found his way. And then Kit, at the end, you learn she's also going to become a professional surfer. Like, that's the track, and Jay's going to be her coach. Like, each one of them has a really distinct relationship with surfing, which I thought was interesting. And it all came from June being able to get them surfboards when she didn't have the money for it.
Yeah, and I feel like the siblings' relationship with surfing helped their relationships with each other, because here's this thing that we share, this passion, this sport that we're all doing, and we can all do together. In fact, I think because this entire story, at least the present day part of it, all happens over the course of one day. And I'm pretty sure, like, all of the kids surfed at some point.
I can't even remember, that one day. But yeah, probably.
Yeah, and, like, you would see them go, and they would go when they needed it most. And they were like, here's a way for me to get away. Yeah. And yes, like, that was Nina's main reason for it. But I feel like there was that in all of them.
But it literally, that surfing is what paid their bills, because Nina was modeling as a surfer in surf magazines. Yeah. So, like, it's just so interesting. But I was also wanted to ask, after June died and the siblings were left on their own, Nina drops out of high school, if you remember. And so this was my thought process, because if you remember in the book, whoever she, like, I can't remember who it was, but it was like the guidance counselor, the principal or something, was like, just don't let it be obvious that you kids don't have a parent, that Mick isn't the guardian. What did you think of the school ignoring that situation, not giving them help and letting them do their own thing? Like, nowadays, there's no shot that would happen.
Well, that's what I was about to get at. Like, it's the fucking 80s. Let's go.
Yeah,
hey, like, kids, like, as long as you guys can keep yourselves fed and sheltered, then sure, go for it,
Totally. And I am, like, reading it, though, I was glad they left, because I wanted the four siblings to stay together desperately, just because I think that was their best shot, was being a family unit. But at the same time, I, like, can't believe that happened, even though I was glad it happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's tough nowadays to think back to to think of 17-year-olds as, like, having their shit together, but some 17-year-olds really have their shit together.
Yeah, she had to grow up quick.
And I think it might have been a call from the principal or guidance counselor or whoever, like, okay, well, this is Nina Riva we're talking about here. Like, if anyone can get their siblings through, it's her. Yeah. And what would the other choice have been? Like, foster care? I mean, they have a house.
Yeah,
they got their surfboards.
Yeah, and she drove them to school. She made sure their homework was done. She forged Mick's signature, remember, on, like, everything. Yeah. She needed to, like, learn, and they were all like, no, like, this sibling does it best. I can't remember who. But anyways, what did you think of Nina's relationships with all of the siblings? Like, June aside, Mick aside, just Nina with each sibling. What did you think of it?
To be honest, like, I know that, we've already touched on how Jay was like, oh shit, like, like, there was not very much of that sibling animosity that you would usually see.
No, none.
If there were, parents there. Where if Jay crashes the car, he gets shit from his parents, and then, like, the older sister would be like, yeah, you idiot, and then he'd be like, shut up. Yeah. Like, that's, like, the general sibling relationship that you would expect, but again, with the absence of parents, yes, Nina really had to step up, but so did everyone else.
Totally.
Really.
One of them was doing, like, laundry. The other one was doing, I can't remember, but they all actually had tasks that they had to do. And I thought that was so clever, as they wanted to stay together so desperately that you didn't see the sibling rivalry. You only saw them coming together as a family and a family unit, which I was absolutely obsessed with in this book, is because they all stepped up just to stay together.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially when it comes to the breakdown of, like, chores, and it's like, okay, Jay, you don't want to do the laundry? Well, now, like, one of your 3 siblings has to do that on top of their chore.
Literally.
So you're just kind of being a dick here.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the dynamic is very different with parents, and, like, yeah, you're
Yep.
still kind of being a dick as a teenager to not want to do your own laundry and then, like, making your mom do it. And we can get into, like, a lot of the whole patriarchal society and...
Totally. I think it was one of the boys, though, that did laundry. I want to say it was Hud or Jay.
No, I just more mean, like...
But I know
Yeah.
that. But I thought that was interesting, though, in the book, that it wasn't one of the girls, because there was 2 girls, 2 guys, and the, like, the stereotypical female jobs actually went to the boys in the house that stepped up and did it. And this was in the 80s.
Well, like, unfortunately,
I think
the
that's awesome.
stereotypical jobs around the house are for women, or all the jobs around
I
the
guess
house.
so.
Yeah, especially in the 80s. So
That's true.
a man doing any sort of housework is like, oh, wow, breaking the
I loved it. I read it and I was like, go off.
gender conventions. No, I'm very glad that, like, they did, but
They did the bare minimum.
yeah.
And I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's easy to be like, oh, I don't want to do my laundry, and if you have parents, and then the parents be like, okay, we'll do the laundry, and, like, get mad at you, and that's just kind of how it normally breaks down.
Very different energy, though.
Yeah, very different energy, and
I
it
love
was
it.
nice to see, and I feel like they probably grew closer
Oh, totally.
because of it, for sure.
They were insanely close. I loved, personally, I loved Kit and Nina's relationship, just because Nina is this, like, beautiful, stunning supermodel, and then Kit is this dorky young girl who doesn't feel pretty in her own skin, and that's, like, a big part of the party that night, is she, like, goes to Nina for, like, help on looking, pretty or whatever, and Nina helps her so easily without, like, she's totally unfazed by it, because she doesn't see Kit as, like, anything but perfect.
I also just realized, too, that we're talking 1983 here.
Yeah.
So when we're talking, like, supermodel and, like, doing a makeover, like, I was never picturing it in my head because, like, I was never of the 80s. But now
Yeah.
I'm realizing, like, they probably did her hair up like crazy
Yeah.
and, like, had the, like, sequins. And I don't even know.
80s style.
Yeah, 80s
sure, we'll go
style
sequence. But yeah, I thought that was really cute, their relationship, and the fact that we haven't even touched on this really, but Hud being adopted, and how not for 1 second in that book did he not feel like their real full sibling.
Mm-hmm. And then, it was kind of full circle. Well, not even full circle, just, like, the fact that it happened again with Casey, I think the name was.
Yeah.
At the very end, showing up to the party and being like, yeah, I'm a Mick bastard too.
Yeah.
Can I
There's
join the gang?
probably a lot more than just them too.
And then they're all like, yeah, get on in here.
Literally.
Let's go. Fucking Mick.
Also, we also have to talk about Jay's ex, Ashley, who Hud is in love with and has just recently got pregnant in the book, is what we find out. And Jay doesn't know yet. And Hud is coming to terms the night of the party finding out that Ashley's pregnant.
Yeah, that's a pretty sticky situation.
Especially because those two are, like, the same age, because Hud's the one that's adopted. They're the same age and they grew up as best friends. So that, like, to me is, like, the ultimate betrayal in a way. But also Jay is so, like, whatever about girls, almost to, like, a Mick level. You see, like, Jay act more like Mick than Hud.
Yeah.
So it's, like, hard. I don't empathize with Jay at all in that situation.
Yeah, me neither.
I was like, get it, Hud. Like, I had no... Anyways, it was interesting.
I think the real tough thing there isn't, like, that Hud would have feelings for Ashley.
Yeah.
It's that I think that the real betrayal there in this situation and other situations like it, say someone's dating a friend of theirs' ex, is just, like, not communicating about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird to feel like something's been held behind your back for so long, and although, like, yeah, it's also tough to be like, hey man, I want to, the ex did Ashley break up with him, or did she
He broke up with Ashley. I
think it was he broke up with her.
I feel like he broke up.
And I think
actually.
that's important.
Yeah. I can't remember, though. Don't quote us on
Yeah.
that. But either way, they weren't serious. And you can very much tell that Hud's in love with Ashley, whereas Jay just, like, casually dated her. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a serious thing. So I thought that was really interesting throughout the entire episode, that Nina also spotted it, knew that Hud was dating Ashley, knew that Jay would get upset. Like, she saw it all throughout the party and knew it was going to be, like, a massive a little on the nose, but a fire that she has to put out.
Shit.
But yeah, like I just thought that was so interesting that Nina could just like spot that.
And then like knowing that Jay would get upset again, like is that because things were being held from him, like, you know, hidden from him? Or is that also like a weird toxic masculinity thing of
It
like,
could be
how
both.
dare you?
And Jay's just a little bit more hot-tempered, I think, than everyone else. Is sort of what I picked up in the book.
Like his father.
Literally, that's what I'm saying, is Jay is like the most like Mick, but because he grew up with those other siblings and with June in his life, he didn't turn out like Mick.
Oh my God, they saved him from the fate of his father.
And Jay could have, and also he was about to be like a really famous professional surfer and then had the heart condition, so couldn't go on. So we actually will never see him be as famous as Mick to see what he would have done. So that also kind of saved him in a way.
I never even thought of those parallels, though, of him becoming like this rich and famous. And
I don't know if it was supposed to be written that way, but that's how I read it, is he was the most like Mick. Because I'm always like, which one's going to be like their parent? I don't know. Maybe I'm weird that way.
Superstar, charismatic, attractive, like conventionally attractive.
I think they're all stunning, probably. And Jay's like
again,
super tall, I remember. Actually, I think Jay and Hud are both really tall.
But again, I'm also thinking like stunning for the 80s.
Totally. Oh my God. Have you seen some celebrities in the 80s, how hot they were though? Like, okay, they're fine. So another relationship that we should talk about is Nina and her ex-husband. So that was like a big bomb, because the ex-husband is also in the next book. We're going to talk about Carrie Soto. But the whole thing is, I think she was distracted and couldn't jump in to like be there for Jay and Hud in that situation, because her ex-husband showed up at the party and like publicly asked for her back.
Yeah, and fuck that guy, because that is straight up manipulation.
It's manipulation. He like literally, what does he do? Get on like a table and yells how Nina should take him back, and everybody starts chanting.
Yeah, and like he knows like, oh, if he were to do the normal thing of, hey, like, I'm back, I know this is tough, can we have a quiet, mature conversation, just the two of us in a room? Yeah, he knows that like that's not how it's gonna play out, so he like uses
it's such bullshit
the crowd to.
That made me so mad, and I was so happy to see Nina's character arc. It also drew the parallel between June and Mick, because June would always take Mick back. He shows back up, she takes him back. So I was like, oh God, Nina, don't do it, June, don't take him back. Yeah. And then she doesn't in the end, and I was like, thank God. I cannot handle another like weak woman. hey
Sorry, come on now.
I know.
And it's very different circumstances, because that June had kids.
But Nina's character arc was just, I thought it was amazing. It was chef's kiss for me, watching her and also having her siblings let her have that growth. Like at the end, they're like, you should sell the restaurant. Mom never even wanted it anyways. Get rid of it. You hate it. Like, leave the country. And where does she go? She goes to Portugal, I think, at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that restaurant was just this huge metaphor for like feeling held down, stuck by like familial obligation.
Totally.
And it's like, we don't.
Yeah, they're fine without it. Like, they didn't even need it anymore.
Well, they definitely needed it when
the early parts.
at the start, and
totally.
It's amazing for them to have had that passed down from their mom and their grandparents, even, to like continue to help them survive.
Totally.
And all work together in that pursuit. But then, kind of jumping out of that nest, right?
Oh, I was so happy to hear that they were going to sell it, that they all agreed. And we were talking about Hud and Ashley getting pregnant. Do you think, another parallel, because I can't help but make these between Mick and June with all the siblings, what do you think Hud's relationship with his future child would be like compared to Mick with Hud, who he abandoned?
Oh God, he's gonna love that kid.
Hud's gonna be the best dad. Yeah. I know. It's so funny. He because usually it's like kids turn out like their parents, or it used to be like that a lot. And I think these kids are the exact opposite of their parents now. Like, Hud is not gonna leave Ashley's side.
Well, until Hud gets like super rich and famous from photography, and then ditches his kid and wife. Yeah. Oh my God, the cycle repeats itself. No, absolutely.
No, Hud would never do that though, and I loved seeing that. I thought that was really good. Also, Mick does come into the party, but because Kit secretly invites Mick, and he ends up showing up. Why do you think he even came? Like, I still am like, because I think she says she's invited him all years prior. Why now?
I think that there might have been something in there about why now, and I can't remember what.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would assume for a guy like Mick, he might have just been like in the area. He might have been, and he showed us up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So he was probably like off doing something else, and then was like, oh, this party's happening, and I can maybe just go see my kids. Like, I don't think that a guy like Mick puts very much thought into anything that he does.
Yeah, I kept thinking that maybe, he's getting older, his kids are getting older, June's gone, nobody wants him anymore. Like, at that point, I thought maybe he was like, because he says he wants a relationship with the kids, and I think he just like screwed it up so bad, and then he genuinely is like lonely and wants like a relationship with his kids. But even, you're right, comes at 2 a.m, doesn't even put the full effort in.
Yeah, I think you're right there, where it was like he had fallen, right? Like, yes, he's still a superstar, but he's so very alone. And
Totally.
But you can't think of your kids and your family as this like backup for when you're feeling lonely. Like, all right, I'll pop into their lives now.
After I've destroyed their life for the last 17 years or whatever, however long he's been gone.
Yeah.
I also, my jaw was on the floor reading. He didn't even recognize Kit. He didn't even know what Kit looked like.
Oh, poor Kit. And she was the one to invite him.
Yeah, so she walks up and realizes he doesn't even know who she is, and it takes him a few seconds to even realize that it's his freaking daughter. I was shook.
I don't remember that exact scene, but like, was he weird about it? Was
Mick?
he like, oh, here's this hot young thing? And
No.
Okay,
it wasn't
good.
creepy.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because she comes up and says something to him, and then she can like see that his confusion on his face, and then he figures it out. But she it's enough that she knows he did not recognize his own daughter. And then he goes, "Of course I know you. I held you when you were born," like blah blah, or something along those lines. He says, and she's just like, "Fuck this guy," which I think is good for her because she was the youngest, so she didn't remember Mick, whereas Nina remembers Mick coming back and then leaving again, and also seeing the downfall of June. Like, Nina remembers all of that. I think maybe Jay and Hud kind of do, but Kit didn't. She was too young, so I feel like that was like her unfortunate seeing of Mick.
Well, yeah, and she kind of needed that. She kind of needed to see like how dangerous and cruel and bad her dad is.
Totally.
And I did love that Kit took the agency upon herself to be the one to invite Mick secretly every year, like just in case.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure to her, she doesn't have those memories, those traumatic memories from childhood of the dad coming back and then things going bad and him leaving again. So yeah, I'm sure she's like, I don't know, like I haven't seen all this.
Yeah.
So it happened to her, and then it also happened to Hud, and then it now happened to Casey.
Yeah. What did you think of Casey's character? Did you like Casey? Do you think they're going to accept her as their own?
I think they'll definitely accept her as their own. I don't really, honestly.
I think they're kind of old now, so it won't be the same.
How old was Casey?
I mean, they're probably all around the same age. I assume they're all I think they're all early 20s at this time, right?
Yeah, I could see Casey being like late teens.
Yeah, maybe. So I feel like, but they all grew up and like struggled together. Casey's kind of coming in as they're about to just like spread out and do their own thing. So I could see her getting in with like Kit and getting in with Jay and Hud. Might be different for Nina now that she's, international at that point.
Yeah, I don't think there was really too much to Casey's character.
It was more of a symbol
really remember.
That Mick sucks.
Yeah, and if anything, she operated as the reader's like stand-in at this party, because it's like, whoa, look at all these celebrities and this crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just like a random person here.
Totally.
So it was kind of nice to have someone like that there, like the every person.
Yeah, every
like
day.
How we would have acted had we been at that party.
Totally. I mean, they had a few of those sprinkled in too in the storyline, with like the server helping give out Coke to all the guests from that one guy who was like nobody paid attention to, and he was like brought a bunch of Coke to the party. Just like absolute chaos.
Oh, just those parties, man.
But also, speaking of all of this, the book starts the way the book ends, with a fire, as we know. So the whole book, I was like, I wonder who frickin' started this fire and what happened. Did you think it was Mick?
I would like to say that I did, but I don't
not.
think I did.
I didn't even think he'd show up. That's honestly how little like faith I had in Mick.
You know what though? I think all throughout, because the fire is constantly referenced, and then this crazy party is constantly referenced.
Yeah.
So you kind of just assume that like the party goes to absolute shit. Like, you ever see Project X?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
And absolutely that's what I thought.
So pretty much that part. And it's interesting that like, no, that's not how it happened. The party was wild, but then like, you know,
it was already shut down.
Like, people are waking up.
No, because the cops were there, so it was like literally shut down as they were having their reunion.
Yeah.
Because people were like getting arrested while they were out back with Mick.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it was like 7 a.m.
It's 2 a.m. And
then it's no, it was 7 a.m. when the fire started and the cops showed up.
But I thought Mick came at 2.
Yeah, Mick came at 2, but like
they were there for 5 hours.
I think so.
That can't be.
I don't know. This was in the Spark Notes that I was reading.
Maybe it was at 7 a.m. they put out the fire. I don't know about timeline.
I think it was 7 a.m. when finally Mick left and then flicked his cigarette butt, and then that's when things started.
What did you think that it was Mick that, of course, he shows up once and burns down the fucking house?
Yeah. And like
the symbolism is just absolutely insane to me.
Well, I also think just how we were thinking, like, that the fire started from this crazy big dramatic thing. No, that's not the case. It was one careless
spark,
shitty flick of a cigarette butt, and I feel like that is so symbolic for how Mick treats his family, where to him it's like, oh, like this is just like a little thing, no big deal, like whatever.
But he's such a
and
fucking
it
idiot.
Carries such ripples.
Yeah, I just thought it was the irony that it was Mick. Like, it was obviously written that way. I just thought it was wild. I did listen to, I can't remember if it was a TikTok or a podcast, but somebody was talking about how this book is like a big theme is celebrity culture, because you get a lot of perspectives, because this is like a celebrity party that everyone wants to go to. And the irony is Nina doesn't even want to be there, and she's the biggest celebrity. She freaking hates it. She wished it wasn't happening. Jay and Hud are like kind of excited but not. Kit is like terrified, like they're not even, and all these people are like dying to get into this party and just to see them. And like it's like so many references of like, and you saw blah 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 from blah blah blah, and like they reference like the drummer from Daisy Jones is there in the Six, and they reference just like so many different things. I just thought it was very interesting, like the take on celebrity culture in this book specifically compared to the other ones, because it's more, you do see the point of view of the people idolizing them and like wanting to go to their party forever, and like it being so iconic. I just thought that was a really interesting part of it.
I could see the party being almost like a condemnation of celebrity culture, and like everyone wanting to like be rich and famous, because you know that's somewhat what destroyed the family in the first place.
Yeah.
And these parties started not as that.
No.
Like they were these small things, these small get-togethers. They were just annual, and then like more and more people got invited. And
totally.
Well, I guess no one really got invited.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah, which is
if you know the address, you're invited. But it also, like, the thing is after I like sat back and thought about that, was anyone even having fun at this fucking party? Like, if you think about it, it was just people trying to be noticed so that people will talk about them, and people terrified or nervous, and people excited to see celebrities. There was no like authentic fun party aspect.
I'm sure that the drummer from Daisy Jones and the Six was having a great time.
What was his freaking name again? We do this every time.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, I loved him. Frick, he was my favorite. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
and then the fact that, especially for like the main siblings, like all of them, even in the little synopsis that we just read, like, oh yeah, everyone's excited for this party except for like the people throwing the party.
Exactly.
And again, I think that the fact that it went up in flames at the end, and like that was the last party, the house is gone.
Yeah.
And everyone can just kind of move on with their lives in better ways, especially Nina.
I think it's a fresh start fire, honestly. It kind of feels that way.
Yeah, and it feels like
she didn't even like that house. Remember, that's the house that her ex-husband bought her, and she like walked in and she was like, she didn't love it.
Yeah, and it's like they're throwing away or like casting aside like the fame, the fortune, the kind of bullshit celebrity, what have you, that again, like, tore their family apart in the first place.
Yeah.
But when we first meet them at the start of the day, they're all like kind of heading towards that themselves in different ways, and like feeling it not be right, especially for Nina.
I do think too, like if you compare Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit to Mick, Evelyn, and Daisy Jones, Mick, Evelyn, and Daisy Jones wanted to be famous. They, like Evelyn, for example, did everything she possibly could to manipulate it so she became famous. I don't think Nina, Jay, Hud, or Kit want to be famous. They all just love surfing.
Yeah,
that's literally like the bottom line for them, which is so different and like contrasting to the other characters that Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote, because they all have some sort of celebrity status. I just thought that was so interesting. This is like, it was just very opposite from the ones we've been talking about.
Yeah, well, I guess that is the question too, because so much of celebrity and fame comes through avenues in arts, right? Like I'm sure that Mick loved singing and performing and
totally
and all that, and same with Daisy Jones and Evelyn with acting.
Totally.
But there did seem to be that more specific pursuit of making it, you know, where Nina was just trying to get by.
Yeah, it was very different.
I do want to mention the big confrontation at the okay, there are a few things.
Oh my god, get into it. I didn't write anything down for confrontations. Whoa, it's really raining.
Yeah, wow. Welcome to Vancouver, folks.
Yeah.
Vancouver, more like.
Good one. Sorry, but talk about the conflict.
Well, you know, Mick showing up and being like, I want into your lives. And from the kid's perspective, it's like, here's your chance, but no, Dad, absolutely not. Like, we don't need you anymore. In fact, we never really needed you.
I mean, he even says his excuse for leaving and not being there. I remember he says, I was weak or something. And I remember Nina said, must be nice to be weak. I wouldn't know. Because she literally couldn't. And to like say that, I remember that really stood out to me.
Nice to have that privilege to be able to be that way, but still get by.
Yeah.
And it was great seeing all the kids come together, including Casey, I think, at the end. They were all like, yeah, no, it's a no from us, dog.
Yeah, he was like literally seeing all 5 of his children and being like, this is the repercussions of your actions staring at you through 5 different sets of eyes right now.
Yeah. And we should also probably talk about Carrie Soto.
I was going to say, but so Carrie Soto does show up in this book, and she has like a big blowout about, I forget what Nina's ex-husband's name is, but Brandon, yes. Brandon cheats on Nina with Carrie Soto, and they have like an affair, and then Brandon comes back, and Carrie Soto shows up at the party and has like a meltdown on the lawn in front of everyone. What did you think of that?
That wife-stealing bitch, you know, I'm so glad that we only had to experience that much of her while reading.
I love Carrie Soto. I know, it was so on brand for her to come and do that.
Too.
But it's so funny because it made me love Nina more, how like she reacted to that, but also made me love Carrie more for standing up for herself, because she's the polar opposite to Nina. Nina is calm and quiet and collected, and she would never have a blow up like that. Whereas Carrie gets wronged once by a guy and she's like, fuck this, shows up and like has a meltdown.
Carrie didn't take Brandon back, did she?
No. Oh, I think she does in the book. I think she does.
Oh, Carrie.
Shoot, we'll look it up before we get into the Carrie Soto one.
Carrie's got some very interesting.
But Carrie has a really weird relationship with men.
Yeah.
But there was like a quote, I actually wrote it down about Carrie Soto, and it said, Nina didn't hate Carrie Soto for stealing her husband because husbands can't be stolen. Carrie Soto wasn't a thief. Brandon Randall was a traitor. That's how Nina saw it. Like, she didn't hate Carrie Soto.
I wish that more people saw it that way in any of these situations.
100%. I literally wrote that down when I was reading it, because I was like, that is like some of the stuff Taylor Jenkins Reid writes when it sings like that. I don't know what it is about her writing, but it lands with me because she writes it in a way to be like, it's almost like how we wish society would react to everything. Yeah, I don't know. I loved that, but I thought that was epic that she could see that.
Maybe that's why we love TJR's Core 4 so much, because it's its own universe of people reacting properly and reasonably, or at least our protagonists acting in ways that are cathartic.
Yep, for sure. I also loved that this book was very much about found family, Like, sorry, I know we're talking about the end battle. I'm calling it like Harry Potter, like the end big battle. But it was very much like
the Battle of Malibu.
Yeah, she says something like, family is found, whether it be blood or circumstance or choice. What binds us does not matter. All that matters is that we are bound. I literally have it in front of me and I messed it up. But I just love how that's basically what this was, is they did not have to stay together so closely and be so, I guess they were still family. But bringing Casey in.
Well, again, as a sibling of 4.
Yeah.
You do kind of move away from each other a bit, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, they stayed very much together.
You become adults in your early 20s. So,
and it is a choice. It's a choice. It's found. It's a choice. I think that's what she's getting at.
And I wonder if if that was part of the reason why Nina was hesitant to take off to Portugal, because she'd be away from her siblings. But
totally, I'm sure it's going to be hard for her.
But I think, and I'm sure it's going to be hard for the siblings too, but the fact that all of them got together and were like, hey, Nina, like, go. Yeah. You got to go.
Yeah. I think I love it. Is there anything else you want to talk about the end conflicts? Like with Hud and Jay? I can't remember how that ended, actually.
They actually fought.
Physically fought. Yeah, because Mick pulled them apart.
Yeah, and they were like, what are you doing
Literally,
here?
to like stop the fight, because they were like, the fuck?
Yeah. But then they you know,
I think their hate for, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, their hate for Mick brought them back to the same side.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So I feel
Thanks, Mick.
Like totally. And I think, they realize that their bond is too important. So but I don't see Hud backing down from the Ashley situation.
Oh, absolutely not.
He won't be like Mick. I think that was just a reminder that they need to stick together, but also that he needs to be there for that baby.
Well, I think everyone also saw that, like, Jay, chill out, dude. Like,
yeah, Jay was being a little baby.
Oh, and then Jay had Laura.
Oh yeah, and Laura didn't like him.
Well, Laura did like him, but like she wasn't like,
she didn't want to date him because he tried to date her and she was like, no thanks.
Yeah, and I loved Laura.
I thought that was epic. I was
thought
like,
it was great.
Laura.
Like, everyone's getting pregnant and married or divorced, and like
Laura's
this
like,
all this
I'm
drama.
good.
And Laura's like, yeah, no, like we can hook up.
This
like,
seems chaotic.
You're chill. Like being around. I'll come to your family's party, but like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, dead.
So it was nice having that little bit of a levity almost of like, here is a relationship where that is just what a normal, like, early 20-something relationship should kind of be. Like,
I mean, in the 80s, though, you're right. It was like a year of dating and then marriage really fast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought Laura was a cool character. You're right. That was awesome.
So obviously Jay's going through a lot of stuff though with that rejection and then
his heart condition. Yeah. His brothers. Yeah, like Jay doesn't have an easy time. Hud's with his ex. She's pregnant.
And we haven't even talked about Kit.
Oh my
finding
God,
herself.
Kit. I mean, I feel like there's more. Like, I wish there was more of a Kit story in the future to find out more, because it really was sort of a cliffhanger on Kit's story in a way, in my opinion. Like, she, reached out to Nina. She asked her for support to look cute for the party, had fun at the party. Did she end up having her first kiss? I don't think so.
I think she did have a first kiss, not with the guy that she wanted, but someone else.
I can't remember.
And then she wasn't that into it. And then went and had a first kiss with a lady.
Oh, right. Oh, my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And then she decided she's going to go pro and focus on stuff. And then Jay is going to support her. So that was like a big Kit era. And then Kit was the one who wanted Nina to go. She was like, we're fine. Go.
Yeah.
She was like the final like push.
And then similar to Laura with like taking a step back from all the intense drama.
Yeah.
Kit's story was so cute and fun and nice of like just
Kit
this.
was so sweet.
It's like coming of age high school party movie.
Yeah.
But like instead of that, she's had this big celebrity blowout thing, and her dad shows up that she's never seen, and
I think that just shows that Nina saved her childhood a little bit. She's still got that childish spark to her. Mm-hmm. That still like innocence is still there. It's not completely gone.
Yeah, and I think we do have to give it up to old TJR, because again, this is the one of the 4 core books that has multiple protagonists, and in every way they're all very much protagonists. They're all dealing with their own stuff.
And she did quite develop all of them.
Yeah, I know. Like, even just thinking, like, wow, like, the story from Kit's perspective again, it's like more of a coming of age.
Totally.
I mean, it's all technically coming of age, but
Yeah.
very different drama than Nina's, although they're all dealing with the same drama of fucking Mick Riva.
I hate that guy. In every book, Evelyn Hugo.
I can't wait
This
for the
one.
5th book to come out about Mick.
God, no. I do have theories, though, that because we could talk about this, but it was Evelyn started in like the 50s, 60s, and then Daisy Jones was the 70s, right?
Oh, God, are you getting at the fact that it's going to be the early 2000s?
No, because this
next
was
one?
the 80s.
Yeah, but
So it
Carrie
would be
Soto's
like-
the 90s.
Oh, you're right. So
So
if
the
she
next
did
one-
another one, it would be like early 2000s. And I was like so curious if there was someone at this party who the book could have been about. Like I thought maybe there wasn't enough about Casey Green, the sibling. Like she could be one for the next one because she is quite young, we figured out. So she would be like in her 30s in the 2000s, like early 30s. But there was also some other people at the party, like Ashley's unborn daughter would be 20 by the time
Yeah,
it would
that's
be in the
true.
2000s. Like I just was curious, but I really don't think TJR is writing any more of this.
Yeah,
universe.
I also like that, and again, we'll get more into this at the end of next episode because that's when we'll wrap up Taylor Jenkins Reid. But I love how she's pulling characters to write about that like really don't have that much of an impact, or you don't feel like before reading Carrie Soto that you need to have read Malibu Rising. But if it
I read
were-
Malibu Rising first before all the other ones accidentally.
It's the 3rd one to come out?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I read that, then I read Daisy Jones, then I read Evelyn Hugo, and then I read Carrie Soto.
What I'm getting at is like you don't really feel like you missed out on backstory that you might
No.
need, but I feel like if any of the next characters were, say, Casey or Ashley's unborn kid,
Yeah.
you probably would want to read Malibu Rising in those situations to get that backstory
I guess
because
it
there is so
depends.
much there.
It depends like how they write it. Like if say it is Ashley's unborn child and her and Hud are no longer together. So it's just like Ashley and the baby story. That's totally separate. You wouldn't even need it.
I would feel like
But Hud would never leave.
if
so
you then
I don't think
went,
she'll
if you
do that.
read that 5th book, if it was about that person though, and then you hit Malibu Rising, you would feel, oh shit, I read these out of order.
I mean, yeah, it's always best to read everything. And like, I wish that I had read them in the right order the first time. I did the next time. But yeah, I don't know. I just think all in all, like it's so hard the fact of saying that this is your least favorite book and also my least favorite book of the 4, but yet it's so good. Like we had so much to talk about.
This is why we are starting with the old TJR universe.
Yeah, literally. Anyways, to wrap it up, is there anything else that you want to say or can I wrap her up?
I think that's it for me, so go for it.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Read the Room. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave a review. Your feedback means everything to us and it helps us be more discoverable online. And don't forget to connect with us on social media. And that's everything. Thanks for listening.
Just do this again sometime. There it is.
There you go.